It's another beautiful, balmy day in Africa. This is Safari Live. Ready. Standing by.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live.
Those are some 2 degrees Fahrenheit, 28 degrees Celsius here, gentle southwester blowing from the unsurprisingly southeast of the reserve. My name is James Hendry. David is on camera. Hello, David.
Hello, John.
Wonderful to have you with me. Out on vehicle today, making his, well, it's not quite his debut, but almost. We have Ivory de Klerk, and he's being ably assisted by Willem Durenbraak. They are going to look for a lion with any luck. And then you've seen Tayla perhaps on the pre-show prancing about in a Christmas hat. I'm going to have a stern word with her about that when I get home. She is being filmed by the giraffe-like figure of Brian Joubert. Let us take another look at those Impala. And then we're going to head down towards the south of the reserve. And with any luck, pick up some tracks of Marula, the Great Queen, Tingana, her consort, and perhaps Hosanna and Shongile, their offspring. They've been in the throes, in case you've had your head in the sand or you've been living in a vacuum. The two of them have been trying to make another 2 Hosanna and Shongiles. Very unusually, at around 10 months old the cubs are, and yet Shongi, at least Karula and Tingana, are still in the process of mating, already in the process of mating again. So that story has yet to play out. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens. They were found together on Little Gowrie, which is a reserve just to the where we operate here this morning, not by us obviously, and they seem to have stopped mating, but we're not sure exactly what the story is there, so maybe they'll come north and we'll be able to figure it out for ourselves. Please talk to us during the course of the next 3 hours. Hashtag Safari Live is the best way to do it on Twitter. Otherwise you can send us an email and it would be lovely to hear from you. Any questions you have, any comments at all. Alrighty, let us continue. It's a most lovely afternoon. A bit foul later on, but the sky is the most gorgeous colour and the clouds are just interspersed at the right distances, and so they all look puffy and rather summer friendly, I feel. Let's see what else we can find down here. Tayla apparently is going to go and look for the scorpion that Brent found yesterday, or I think Herbert found it, and then he found it again this morning, and they're going to go and have a look at it again this afternoon. I'm going to turn the Game Drive channel down. All the landowners are here for their Christmas holidays, and that means the Game Drive channel is a little bit like listening to... it's like listening to the old school sort of stock market floor, where everybody is trading at a great volume. Right, unsurprisingly, Tayla McCurdy has already found members of the arachnid order.
Good afternoon and welcome again. Of course, we're out here walking around in the African wilderness, and as you can see, we've found the scorpion den. Now, my name is Tayla, and on camera with me this afternoon we've got Brian, and of course I think the thumb is on vacation, is that correct?
No, he doesn't enjoy the bushwalk.
Doesn't like the bushwalks. I suppose it is hard if you didn't have good working legs out here, it might be a little bit tough, and of course the thumb is a thumb. So he's just having a holiday. He's actually with Brent this afternoon enjoying a day at the pool. Now, as you just saw, we managed to find the scorpion. Let's have another look. And if you are worried about if we're out here by ourselves, don't worry. Herbert, the protector, is out and about and just keeping us safe, of course. Now, you can see the scorpion has taken refuge under some grass. And I think it's quite exciting that we're having a regular sighting of this beautiful lady and all her tiny little babies. I must tell you, this is the first time I have ever seen a scorpion with babies on her back. Isn't that incredible? Now, remember, we are on a live safari, and if you'd like to interact with myself, James, or Evia, you're welcome to hashtag Safari Live on Twitter, or you can send us an email at questions@wildearth.tv. Now, I know we've been chatting a lot about the scorpions lately, especially Brent and James, as they've been here prior, but something incredible about these creatures is that they have been around for a very long time. I was reading today that the scorpions sort of came from a scorpion-like creature that lived in the ocean about 430 million years ago. And when they eventually adapted and came onto land, well, they haven't really changed since, haven't changed much since then. I think that was quite interesting to see. Now, I wish I'd brought along a picture of what their sort of ancestors looked like. It was really quite interesting. Something almost like a horseshoe crab. But of course, this is not related to crabs and crayfish. It is in the arachnid family. But I think they're quite lovely. And I think what I'm going to do is, she's a bit exposed to the sun. I'm going to cover her up a little bit, try and provide some shade. Now, as we look at these tiny little babies moving around on her back, Michael, you were wondering, I'm actually going to close it up because I don't want to disturb her too much with all these little ones. We'll just do that. Now, Michael, you were wondering, how long will those babies stay on her back? You know what, I've read so many different books that say a variety of different things. I've tried to check up on the internet, and well, it seems to be that the youngsters stay with their mother until they have their first molt, whether it's between 10 and 20 days or 14 days. I can't find an exact answer. It's always like this. All the books have varying information, so I'm going to just stick with until their first molt. Then they will crawl off, and off they go. And well, then they live like adults. They know how to hunt. That instinct kicks in. They know how to hide themselves and be able to create burrows or live under the bark like we've just seen over here. So I always think that that's quite nice, that these animals have amazing instinctual behavior, and well, they're able to do these crazy things. I don't think I would have been able to have survived out here in the wilderness. Now, we're going to go across to Evia and say hello to him. Remember, be nice.
Good afternoon, folks. I'm FW, or Evia. I'm very happy to be here and in the company of a lovely male lion. Yeah, we came out this afternoon trying to find him again. He's fast asleep, doing what lions do best, sleeping most of the day. Afternoon, Lou. I am very happy to be back at Safari Live. It's something different to what I normally do, so yeah, very excited for the time being and for the time to spend with you guys. It's going to be a lot of fun. Is there any of the viewers that can help me with our identification on this male lion? I think it's one of the Birmingham males, but yeah, I don't know these males so we are going to link over to James. Enjoy.
There is a pig. It's sitting in the shade with another pig somewhere around there. Or was it just a termite mine? No, there's the other pig. 2 pigs. And we were hoping little baby pigs, which at this stage of the game look like little sausages on legs. But I think these are 2 young boars who've taken up sort of a life of bachelorhood. That is not a boar. That is almost certainly a sow. So perhaps just some young teenage love here, unless they're perhaps siblings as well, they could be. Enjoying the flush of the summer. It's very nice to see these pigs. When I started here, I was surprised by the lack of them and how unprepared they were to stand around us. But over the last little while, they seem to have reacted a little or relaxed a little bit more. That nice? Just so happy to be eating all that fresh grass. And it's eating on what we call, of course, a sodic area, which is a natural sort of clearing. And they're not alone, these 2 pigs. They're not the only ones that like a natural clearing like this. David, it has emerged from behind its tree. And there it is. A Beetles zebra, a.k.a. the plains zebra. And I read the other day that zebra, or a species of probably the mountain zebra, have the longest migration of any animal in Africa. And I read that on Wikipedia, which can sometimes be a little unreliable, given that, anyone can edit it. But that was then confirmed to me in Planet Earth today. And that was the 4th episode of the new Planet Earth series. And indeed it would seem so, that zebra, the humble zebra, are responsible for the longest migration in Africa. So not the wildebeest of the Serengeti, they move continuously all the time. But in fact, the longest straight line migration is by the mountain zebra in the Kalahari. And I think it's round about 260 miles, if I'm not mistaken. So that's a pretty long way. This, of course, is not a mountain zebra, it is a plain zebra, but they too are very good at going big distances. Now you will read, of course, that the reason a wildebeest is designed the way it is, yes, I did say wildebeest, even though we're not looking at it, but the reason we see them, and often we describe their design with that sloping back and heavy shoulders, is apparently for migration, because they can move big distances. Now I put it to you, if that is the case, why is it that the animal that migrates the furthest in this great continent is an animal with a very large backside and carrying most of its mass on that hind end rather than on its shoulders? So I'm not sure that whole argument or whole sort of factoid that's been given to countless numbers of tourists over the years who've seen wildebeest, I'm not sure that they've been told the truth. And I don't really know why it should be, therefore, that wildebeest have that sloping back. But, who knows? Perhaps it's just one of the ways that helps them to migrate big distances, and as they say in the classics, David, there's more than one way to skin a cat. That is a delightful mixed metaphor. Very peaceful scene, as I said to you. I had the total feeling of serenity when we started the show, with the clouds interspersed at just the correct distances. Nice blue summer sky, perhaps some rain in the offing a little bit later on. Green grass, happy pigs. Are you able to tell a sad pig from a happy pig, David? I am not. You think you are? Oh, good. Cindy, I think you're asking about albino zebra, and do we get them here? And what would their stripes look like? Is that correct? Good. Okay, well, we'll take that as correct then. Cindy, an albino zebra, I don't know what it would look like. Of course, the the skin of an albino has no pigment, and normally that of course translates to the hair, that the hair follicles would have no pigment either. So I suspect that an albino zebra would be plain white, maybe with slightly darker patches. It would be quite fascinating to see. I suspect any animal that is plain white out here, however, much like if you're a leucistic francolin, for example, we used to have one at Ngala, I think probably you'd get eaten quite soon, because it's very easy to see you at night. If you happen to be a lion and you're looking for something to eat and there's a great big beaconous white horse-like thing in front of you, I think you'd probably eat it very quickly. But I've never heard of an albino zebra. That's not to say, of course, that they don't exist. I'm always interested by how fascinated we all are with the different colours that animals come in. And clearly that animal is as well. You can see he's looking at us with his ears faced this way, listening fascinatedly to everything I say. Hassan, I think you're wondering about the tail movement there. You're saying, is moving its tail a sign of something? It's a sign of the existence of flies. So the tails of many animals out here, giraffe, wildebeest and zebra in particular, are sort of designed especially for getting rid of flies. They've got long hairs on the bottom of them, they're very strongly muscled, and they're used for swatting flies and ticks off the back end. And in fact, that hair on the back of that tail will probably reach about halfway along the belly. So yes, that's what they're for. It's not a signifier of mood all the time. So when they're standing there, rests wagging them from side to side, it's normally just that they're flicking flies. If they are alarmed, I suppose they might stick their tails out slightly, they might come out slightly. On an animal like a kudu, they will flip them up if they're alarmed. On an animal like a leopard, they'll pick the tail up, and they've got that sort of white pom-pom on the end of it, and they use that white pom-pom to indicate to birds, for example, that they are not a threat in any way. So yes, in some animals, they can be used as signifiers of something. We all know, of course, dogs wag their tails when they're happy. But in a zebra, I think far more used for swatting away irritating insects than anything else. Right, let us move on from this position and continue down towards the south. Oh, now Ilana, aged 14. We're going to look at that zebra, and you say, what are the black marks there in between the zebra's legs? Now, I think we're talking about the chestnut, that thing there that it looks like it's on the knee joint, which is actually the equivalent of the wrist joint, but there it is, you can see. Lana, the only thing I can say to you is that I remember when I was a child and I used to ride horses, I think I was told once that the chestnut there is used to hold the foal's legs together when they're in the womb, to stop them kicking, to stop them doing too much damage to the mother's uterus when they're in utero or before they've been born. Now, I've never read that since hearing it. I don't know if it's true. I've asked a few times on Safari Live if any of our viewers are able to help us with the mystery of that question. So if anyone has an idea, then let us know, please. It's that dark sort of skin-coloured patch there just above the wrist joint, or what looks like a knee, on the front foot. And on a horse, that's known as the chestnut. So we'll consider that. And I'm just going to listen very briefly to the loveliness of the summer afternoon. Very nice. There's a cicada calling gently off in the distance there. Thick, 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 thick. Gorgeous. Gorgeous! Let's carry on. Up and over. A fairly severe road maintenance going on here at Djuma. Right, Right, let us go back to our friend Evia and his flat cat. Please be very nice to him, ask him many questions so that he might ease into his new life as a personality on the interweb.
Welcome back. Our male lion is still fast asleep. Well, we've got the screen on his nose there. If you look, it's still pink in color, which means he's not that old yet. My best guess, these guys are around 5 years old. You see that pinkish color? The older they get, the darker it gets. Also, quite a bit of scarring on that nose and a bit higher up. Look at that pink scar, still healing. And then under his eye, there's a fresher wound. Probably from a fight between other males, or even a bit of dominance fighting between the two, well, the males in their coalition. Peacefully sleeping. Good sign to look for with lions to see if they're relaxed or not. If you look at that paw turned around and the other one on top of the other one facing down, but that's no sign of aggression. When both face down to the ground, and normally the back legs will be under the body as well and kind of facing in your direction, you'll be in a fair bit of trouble. But this guy has got no intention of doing anyone any harm anytime soon. Debbie, you are asking about a memorable lion encounter I've had. This is probably not the best story, but yeah, one of my first lion encounters I had on foot. Everyone says don't run. I ran. Yeah, we were tracking a male lion, and out of nowhere this guy just jumped up and came at us. Luckily it was still far off and the vehicle was quite close, so I got back into the car without any hassle. But yeah, not something to be proud of, and definitely a big lesson learned there, because it kept coming. He doesn't look like he's too full. Maybe later this evening he might start moving, maybe try and find his brothers or the members of his coalition, and maybe they'll see if they can't get a meal. And there's not too heavy breathing. Looks quite hungry. Well, not massively hungry, but it's on its way. Linda, you would like to know a little bit more about me. I grew up in the northwest province of South Africa, which is kind of west of Johannesburg, about 3 hours west of Johannesburg, on a farm. So I've lived outdoors all my life, haven't spent too much time in the city, which I'm quite fortunate about. I've been in the Lowveld in this region of South Africa for the last 6 years or so, guiding in different reserves, and at the moment I'm freelance guiding, so I spend a bit of time all over the place in the Kruger National Park, in the Sabi Sands, and just the general area. Looked like there's a fly bothering him, just chasing that off. So whilst sleeping like this the whole day, with the sun out like it is now, he would have been chasing the shade a little bit. So every time the sun moved the shade, as the day went on, he would have moved around this little shaded area of his and stayed nice and cool. They try and sleep as much as they can during these hot days and hot times of the day to keep their energy levels and just try and minimize using any unnecessary energy for any movement that's not needed, so that they can have everything that they do need for hunting. Milton, you're asking if he's on his own or if there's any other lions sleeping around. From what I can gather, it looks like he's on his own. He's doing his own thing. He might have split off from the coalition to maybe patrol a part of their territory that not everyone has been to in a while. There has been a little bit of rain, so marking territory would be important for these guys at the moment. So yeah, he should get together with the coalition shortly. Aaron in New Zealand, you asking about coalitions that I've spent a bit of time with. Yeah, there are two specific ones that I've had the privilege of spending some time with. The one coalition, unfortunately, they are no more. They lost their territory to two other males, and so the ones, they were called the Sand River males. They were three brothers that took over the area that I worked in a couple of years ago. Took over from another male that was called the Kruger male. They didn't spend too much time in the area. They weren't too successful. They had one set of cubs, but the cubs unfortunately didn't make it. And then two other males came in, and they're called the Charleston males. They are in the southern Sabi Sands, and at the moment they are the dominant ones. One of them is very identifiable by a canine that's loose, that's sitting loose in its lip. Yeah, beautiful male lions. They've been quite successful. I think the last update that I got from them, their pride has grown to 16 lions. It was the two of them, 5 adult females, and the rest were all cubs. So hopefully they'll keep growing and have a successful time at the reign of that area. We're going to link back to James for an update.
The update is that we've come off to the western side of Djuma, found no tracks. We did see one wildebeest lonely in the distance, but it disappeared in some bush thicker than the windy impenetrable forest, so we didn't follow up on him for too long. I also saw 2 blue waxbills which disappeared. There, David, is a lilac-breasted roller. Can you see it? It's on the edge of that tree there. There it is. Well done. Oh, he's just having a little bit of a goulard flutter, given the heat of the day. It's not very hot. It's a very pleasant day. There's no reason for him to be goulard fluttering away like he is. It's quite a nice way to view him, actually. It's very difficult for the cameraman chaps when there is an animal Did I just call everybody chaps? That must never happen again. I do apologize. It's very difficult for the cameraman to get a picture of a bird against the sky like that. And so you will often see the picture kind of changing in brightness as they try and bring the subject into focus. And what happens then, of course, is that the background blows out slightly. It goes slightly overexposed. I will never call you chaps again. Sorry about that. I suppose, yes, it is better than the other term I use sometimes when I'm being a little bit angry. I use the term oaks, and it's a South Africanism. I don't know where it comes from. O-K-E-S, oaks. Oaks. No, man, don't do that. There's a gorgeous. Oh, it's gone. It was a crested barbet, and there it is. It's still there, David, and I wonder. This is a silver cluster leaf tree. And I wonder, can you see it hopping there? I wonder if this tree doesn't have a nest for one of these barbets in it. They do form holes, these trees, and we've seen, shall I back or forward?
Just show some distance between Termite and
Oh, right, okay. It's now starting to cool. What I'm saying is that the rollers and the starlings, they all like to spend a bit of time in these trees because they do have holes in them, and they all nest in tree holes. Sorry, I'm fumbling my words because the Game Drive channel keeps going explosion in my ear. No, you can just hear him going. But we can't see him there anymore. But he was looking so pretty, shining in the sunlight there. Okay, never mind. Let's carry on. We will maybe find another one. So tree nesting, hole nesting birds, along with the starlings, the rollers, the woodpeckers, obviously. What else nests in a tree? The hoopoes, the wood hoopoes, the hornbills, of course. All of those birds looking for hot property in tree cavities. And of course we must not forget the greatest tree cavity nester of them all, the woodland kingfisher. How on earth the number of woodland kingfishers here find tree cavities to nest in, I don't know. I wonder if that isn't one of the reasons they arrive back here relatively late. You know, they come in at around, well, this year I think it was the 20th of November, so that's pretty late. And I suspect that maybe they take that extra time because many of the tree cavities would have been vacated by woodpeckers and rollers and that sort of thing by the time November comes along, or by the time they've managed to pair off. And maybe they only sort of start breeding in the middle of December, and by then maybe the rest of them have fledged and left the holes, and there's a whole lot of vacated real estate. What do you think about that for a theory, David? Yes, I think so. It's probably utter rubbish. Distressingly, the more time I spend out here, the more time I think I've spoken utter rubbish for the last 15 years. Come up with wild suppositions of why things are going on the way they are, only to find that that really isn't why they're going on the way they are. I've just gone past Pinchy Winer's own old house, which became his grave. Pinchy Winer was a freshwater crab, for those of you who don't know, and he, unfortunately, being the only representative of his species that I knew here, was sat on by a buffalo and buried alive. Very unpleasant way to go, I imagine. Even if you are a crab without friends. Curious one. While I try and figure out what that bird is at the very top of the tree there. Can you see it, David? Well done. You say, ooh, Ooh. That bird, I don't think anyone's got on their bird list. I'm not going to tell you what it is. I'm going to wait for you to tell me what it is. Hashtag Sorry Live, questions at WildEarthTV. Tell us if that bird, whose name shall be revealed shortly, is on your bird list. That's quite special, actually. I was talking about the Gabbro Plains earlier on, this morning when we were walking around, and that's normally found in the open areas of the Gabbro Plains, that particular bird. Now, curious one, you're asking what direction I think the elephants went in. Curious one, north, south, east, west, and all variations in between. I think they've just dispersed, and they've probably, much like many of the grazing animals, have headed towards the grass plain. So, this is quite a nice link to the story of this bird that we're looking at now. Down in the south of the Sabi Sand, big plains of Gabbro, this time of the year the grass is shortish, it's just coming up. It's the only time of the year, say between now and January, middle of January, that the grass is edible before it turns to straw. It gets too tall and turns to straw. And then way up north towards Satara in the Kruger Park, there are other big plains of Gabbro, also in the Manuleti. And I think you'll find that many of the elephants have gone up north or down south towards the Gabbro Plains, along with the wildebeest and the zebra and many of the other grazing animals, especially probably vast herds of beefaloes who have just got through this rather dreadful drought. That's quite a special bird. I'd be loved to know if anybody's got that on their bird list. I'm going to give you one more look at it while I look it up, just to make sure that I haven't completely misidentified the thing. UK expat, you say a pied grossal shrike, right? No. Negative, I've never heard of that bird, although it maybe just has a different name where you are. It is what I thought it is. I'm going to give you the answer. It is a shrike. Many of you guessing that it is a shrike, and absolutely it is a shrike. It is a non-breeding Palearctic migrant, which tells me that yes, it could have a different name somewhere else. It's not an uncommon bird, it's just that this is not normally found here. Close, Sarah. A lesser shrike, yes, close. There's something between lesser and shrike, though. Have a look at the colour just on the back of the head there and the wings. Yes, Aaron, it is. It's a lesser grey shrike all the way from New Zealand. Well done. It is a lesser grey shrike. How many of you have got that on your bird list? I think that's quite a nice bird to get. Well done. Well done, Aaron. Team effort there, everyone. Good job. I can't remember seeing one at Djuma. I've definitely seen many down in the south of the Sabi Sant, but not many here. Right, we'll go past Treehouse Dam now and see if anything's there. Treehouse Puddle at the moment. The deluge did not materialize last night, everyone. And a great relief to us all is that Tayla was not set upon by that scorpion and removed from the earth. No. She just had to go and charge her battery. Let's go and find out how that experience was.
Don't worry, it was just the backpack battery that went flat, but myself and Brian and Herbie, well, our batteries are well charged and we're ready for a fantastic walk now. As I say that, my earpiece falls out. But we're looking at a funny little flower. It's quite pretty, don't you think? Now, this is the start of a shrub called Indigofera tinctoria, or as it's commonly known as the indigo dye plant. Now, this is one of the favorite plant species that I saw when I was up in Zambia, and it used to grow actually everywhere. It was really lovely. Now, it's actually an incredibly important flower, sort of medicinally, because it can help with a lot of things. So, something that you've seen quite often with James, the velvet ant, which he pops under the microscope every now and then. Now, we know that wasp has got a terrible sting to it, and well, if you take the leaves of this plant and you dry them and you make a powder, there's something called now I've forgotten what it's called. What did I say it was called again? Do you remember, Brian? Oh gosh, it's just slipped my mind. I've been saying this word over and over all day long. Anyway, it's got some type of an antiseptic property, and basically what it does, you can use it for the sting of the velvet ant wasp or a scorpion sting or any stings really, and even burns, and you apply that powder straight to the wound, and well, it stops it from that burning, itching sensation. Isn't that amazing? And well, probably wondering, why is it called indigo dye plant? Well, not only does it help with stings and all sorts of other things, is that, again, from the entire plant you can extract a lovely dark blue dye, and it was quite popular with the basket industry of dyeing baskets and of course even jeans. So that lovely dark blue color you can actually get from this plant. Isn't that amazing? Right, let me hop up now. Oh, thank goodness no scorpion. Oh, now I'm very dirty. But I suppose this sort of goes with the look, eh? We'll just keep that sand on for a little bit longer. Let's head over to these trees. Herbert said that he saw something quite interesting around here. So let's have a little squiz. Now, something that's quite interesting at the moment is all these new flowers that have popped up. They are everywhere. So we're trying to find out what everything is. Herbie, where am I looking? Where did you see them, Herbert? Under the tree. It looks like they've disappeared. Doesn't look like they're here anymore. Herbert said I think there were some grasshoppers of some kind. Oh, I saw one jump. There it is. Hiding away under these thorns. But Brian, I'm not going to go too close. Can you see this one sitting on the tree? Well, look at that one. Now, of course, we've been seeing this grasshopper for quite some time, the elegant grasshopper. Isn't it just so beautiful? Did it jump away? I think it jumped away. Oh, no, here it is. Oh, it's sneaky. It's just going underneath.
Oh, there's another one here.
Oh, there we go. That's quite sitting out quite nicely. Now, obviously, it's quite difficult because these insects see us and they think that we, of course, are going to prey upon them. So they run away very, very quickly. I don't blame them. But luckily for them, I don't quite enjoy eating insects. It's not my favorite thing to do. But they're everywhere and they're growing day by day. I remember the first one we saw was probably about half the size of the one that you're looking at. And they're actually completely plaguing the area. And they're going to grow and grow and grow eventually until they are massive. Well, and then it's going to be really hard to avoid these guys. But they're lovely. Now, I heard Herbert calling me. He says he's found something else. He's on a roll, this man. He finds the most incredible things as we're out here on the walk. Of course, as we're looking, it's very important. I always like to just sort of kick the little shrubs over with my foot because I don't want to touch anything with my hands first, just in case there's a scorpion or maybe a little snake hiding underneath it. And well, you wouldn't want to get stung on your finger, and that's why I always use my feet because, well, my shoes are made of suede and it's quite tough. You'd have to have strong teeth to get through my shoes. Now, I don't quite know what Herbie was looking at over here, but we'll have a little scan. And I was still trying to actually identify this flower. Let me pick it up for you. I need to take one with me. James has looked at it as well. And well, it looks like the string of stars, but it isn't because there's only one. And we haven't been able to find it yet. We've been looking and looking, but I know that Brent is very good when it comes to wild flowers. So we shall take it back, and I think we'll do a group effort. Perhaps even Evia might know what something like this is. He, like I said, he enjoys walking. It's one of his favorite things to do. So I reckon he's probably come across quite a few different flowers, especially when he does the big trails around the Kruger National Park. So we'll have a nice little discussion a little bit later, and hopefully by the time it's morning, we would have come to a conclusion and sorted out a couple of these things. But it's always important to take a sample with you. You can take a photo, but sometimes it's nice. They describe the texture of the leaves, and well, you can do that. You can't do that with a photo. But let's go across to James now, and he's got a tree, so we know it's not going to run away from him.
And the ambient up shot. Hey everyone. Oh, there we go. How's that? You got audio?
Yeah.
Right, I'm in a tree, clearly, obviously. This is a very large Marula tree and my heartbeat is racing. This is because I'm very high up indeed. Now, the reason I'm in this tree is to retrieve some lighted matches, which are a species of mistletoe that you can see in this tree around us. But, most interestingly, I think that this tree has fallen foul of the mistletoe and it has been murdered. If you look around, none of the greenery on this tree, or very little of it, just a bit behind me actually, belongs to the Marula. The rest belongs all to these lighted matches. And if you look around them, you can see they're growing these balls from where they've infected or found purchase on the Marula tree. They've drilled into it and they're basically taking all of its nutrients and it cannot survive with them all, and I think that's probably why it's dying. Whether it'll die completely or not, I don't know, but it's sacrificed this limb here that you can see. You can see that it's completely dead, and I suspect that it has sacrificed that limb. In other words, it's been unable to maintain the whole tree, and it's just kind of said, well, we'll sacrifice this one and try and maintain the integrity of the organism in so doing. Anyway, that's what's going on here. Now I'm just going to go slightly higher and hopefully not do myself a dreadful injury and fetch a little bit of lighted matches. Quite nervous, I cannot tell you a lie. I'm not a large man. It would be helpful to be a large man. There we go, I've got it. Now, do I try and throw it to David, or shall I just know?
Yes.
You can zoom in on it, and then I'll bring it down to you. There it is. See why it's called lighted matches. They do go redder eventually once they've finished flowering completely. And it's this mistletoe, of course, that's also used when this flower turns to a fruit. It's used as a very kind of effective glue for catching birds. And you chew up the branch, and if a bird comes to sit on that branch, it'll be unable to move, and you can have a bird for dinner, I suppose. Let me toss it down now, allowing for the wind that is coming from the southeast. Absolutely hope. Anyway, we saw it where it landed. I'll fetch it when I get down. Kirsten, should you wish to link away at this stage, it's probably not a bad idea. David will tell me that is going to happen.
Kirsty would like to stay, James.
Kirsty would like to stay?
Yes.
What have I pulled, David? Can you see I cannot find purchase with my legs.
Are you okay, James? If there's at Buffelshoek.
If there's at Buffelshoek, we should go across to him.
Yes.
Which is quite a long drop. He's at Buffelshoek Dam. Let's go and find out how he and the Egyptian goose are doing.
So we've decided to leave that male lion on his own, fast asleep, just moving around. We're at Buffelshoek Dam at the moment. It's quite interesting to see what things are looking like after a bit of rain, and also since I've last been here. It actually looks like the water obviously dropped from the time I was here in May to what it's looking like now. But yeah, slowly but surely with the rain we've had, it's gonna start coming back. Some nice terrapins out sunning themselves, some water birds. It looks like a three-banded plover, and otherwise it's fairly quiet at the water. I was hoping to get some game, but nothing at the moment. shall we carry on and see what else we can find? Chitty, you are asking if I have ever traveled outside of Africa. I have. My aunt lives in the US and I went to visit her a couple of years ago. She lives in New York City, so I had quite a rude awakening when I went to the Big Apple. It was quite a scary couple of days, the first few days, but I got used to the idea and it was a lot of fun at the end. I got to see the northern parts of America as well. We did a road trip all the way up to Maine. I don't know if I say it correct, but I went to Bar Harbor and Acadia National Park, which was quite a bit of fun. But other than that, I've traveled in Africa, but not anywhere else overseas. Last year I had the privilege of going to Rwanda to go see the gorillas, which was life-changing and just an exceptional experience. Also been to Botswana and Mozambique. Where is that hornbill? There's a horn. Oh, there it is. Still hiding. Lovely yellow-billed hornbill. Jumping around looking for food. Might be some termites in the area that it might be looking for. Can't really see much what it's looking at the moment. How awkward doesn't it look when they run with those short legs? Very funny stride and then funny jump. James, you are asking if I keep a bird list. I actually do. Last time I was here I didn't, because I said I was too lazy for all the paperwork. But with modern technology and birding apps on cell phones, it's made it a bit easier, and I do. I think I'm around 180 birds at the moment. I've only started in July, so slow. Oh, there, it's caught something. We saw a live kill. Awesome. Yeah, I mean, slowly but surely getting my list going. Lots to learn on birds though. I'm struggling with all those LBJs, those little brown birds, the larks and the pipits and those things. Wonder what it's gonna catch next. Alright, let's carry on. Oh, it's got something in its mouth there. Holly, you're asking what my favorite animal is. It's difficult to pick one. It's really difficult to just say there's one specific one that's my favorite. I've got a couple. I enjoy big cats. I've got a I'm very fond of black rhino. They've got beautiful attitudes. Just caught a grasshopper locust. Awesome. Do you see how it was knocking it against the wood of the tree just to kill it before eating it? But yeah, coming back to favorite animals, big cats, black rhino. Enjoy spending time with elephants on foot. There's always nice interaction with them. Those are probably the ones that are the highest on my list, but no specific one being a outright favorite. I wonder what's going to be around the corner, what we're going to find next. There's a little mud wallow coming up. Let's see if there's anything around here. Only some old sign of, looks like elephant and maybe a couple of other guys that were rolling around and mud wallowing and throwing themselves with mud in the case of elephants. Folks, I'm going to hand you over to Tayla. She's got a nice surprise for you.
I have been talking about dung beetles all day, and it was one of my missions this afternoon to come out and find these beautiful critters, and well, here we have them rolling about a beautiful dung ball. Now, unfortunately, I can't tell you where they've got this dung from, because at the moment it looks very, very fine, so I suspect it's from one of the ruminants' dung, seeing as they do a good job at digesting their food very well. You can see the ball is a smooth consistency, besides now that it is not covered in sand. And you can see the male hard at work pushing the ball, and look what he's about to roll it past. Look at that. We're going to have a guess. What do you think those dung beetles have just rolled their pile of dung past? You remember, you can hashtag Safari Live with your answers on Twitter, or you can send us an email, questions@WildEarthTV. Tell us what that white thing is. Now, I really love dung beetles, and I'm wondering where these two are going to go. Perhaps they've already got an area where they've been digging, or burying, their dung balls, and the females maybe been laying some eggs already, or perhaps it's a new pair that have recently just met up. And these are the days of our lives. I'm just joking, I had to say that. And I wonder, something else I'd like to see, and I was watching a dung beetle this afternoon, and it caught my attention, is the fact that dung beetles are not the most elegant flyers. And they've got these big, beautiful wings, of course, barring the Addo flightless dung beetle. They're one of the few that don't have any wings. It feels as though I've got sand all over my face, probably from when I was laying down in the dirt, so we'll dust it off. Now, I don't know if you've noticed, but so they've got these big wings. They fly around in like sort of squadrons of aeroplanes, searching for all sorts of crazy things. Of course, they're looking for dung. But haven't you noticed how they are not the most elegant flyers? I've seen them flying into vehicles that are still. I've seen them flying into trees. A tree never changes its position. Now, something that they've got to help protect them from their clumsy flying is these lovely hard outer shells. So once if they do fly into a tree, they sort of fall down onto the ground, do a little shake, well, and then off they go and they carry on with their day. I think that they are lovely, robust creatures. Now, as well as this unknown plant that I have in my hand, I've got something else. There we go. You can see it's quite beautiful. Lovely yellow little flowers on it, sort of very long elongated leaves, and it's got a very smooth leaf as well. Doesn't really have much of a smell. Normally the colored flowers don't smell as nice as the white flowers do. Now this is called wild lucerne. Yes, I said it, wild lucerne. So those of you who have horses or other farm animals that perhaps you need to feed, you would know that you would have fed them something along the lines of teff, and I'm sure there's a couple of bales of lucerne in your shed or wherever you may keep all the animals' food. Now, this is a wonderful plant. Unfortunately, it doesn't have too many medicinal uses. However, it is sought out after from most of the browsers. Even something like a giraffe will scour the plains for the wild lucerne and actually feed on it. It's one of their favorite things that they're sort of treats, I suppose. Their favorite food is the acacia, but if they can find this beautiful wild lucerne, it'll put a smile on their face. But let's continue on. Where did Herbert go? We've lost him. We have to go tracking him, though unfortunately it's not the greatest soil. Now, Raisa, apparently you say that this white flower is called oleander. Did I say that correctly, Kirsty? We'll have to have a look at how it's spelled, but thank you so much. I'll do a bit more research tonight. And, we'll try. I'll get the spelling from Kirsty and we'll have a look and see if I can do a bit of research. I've got a flower book here, so maybe we'll have a look in between segments and, see if we can actually find it. But for the moment, it remains a mystery. But Raisa, thank you so much. And remember, I'm still waiting for your responses as to what we have. Should I show them, Brian, a little bit up close? Oh, wait, let's look. Let's pick it up. We didn't go far. Right, so we've got two answers. We've got Debbie and James, who think it is a tooth, and then we've got Kitty, who thinks it is a broken bone. Now, unfortunately, it's not either, so I'm going to give you an opportunity to have a closer look. So I'm going to show you the outside. I shall twist it very slowly. Look at that. It's very distinct. Think big. Now, I'm going to turn it. Jared, you champion. Well done. Jared, you've won the prize. I don't know what the prize is, but you've won it. So Jared says, is it a piece of tusk? You are quite correct. Yes, it is. It looks like it's definitely from an elephant tusk. You can see it's massive and it's heavy. I can't believe how the small little piece of ivory, most likely broken off during a fight or something along those lines, is so heavy. It probably weighs, I don't even know, maybe half a kilogram or so. But we're going to leave this out in the bush where it belongs, and hopefully it remains here for many, many years to come. But we're going to go out and look for a couple more flowers, maybe a few butterflies, and of course this white flower. Now while we do that, let's go across to James, who's got the smallest antelope that we see in this area.
Well, indeed, the smallest antelope. There it is, everybody. And I don't remember if you were with me and Brian a little while back when we were looking at a freshly made Steenbok midden. And it was just after we had been in this area and the Steenbok had run off. We didn't see it while we were live. But this is that territory. This is the owner of the territory, Mrs. Steenbok. And you can see that she is chewing her cud. Watch her mouth and her throat. She's not sure if we've seen her or not. And of course her greatest defense is to stay as still as possible. There we go. Just had a little bit of a vomit into her mouth so that she can re-chew her lunch. And also you can see that her right, our left, ear is facing backwards. So they move completely independently of each other, allowing her to listen in both directions at the same time. Which of course, if you're so very tiny like this, and you have not the help of mates in a herd to look out for predators, well, you need to be able to hear what's going on both sides. Isn't she lovely? I just think the colour of her there is beautiful. Now, as many of you will know, to be colourblind doesn't mean that you see in black and white, of course. It means if you're a human being, and Brent was just reminding me of this today because his father has this problem. His father is red and green colourblind. So if you're looking at a scene like that, where the animal is basically an orange colour, it's brown, I suppose, but it's orangey red, and the grass around it is green, I reckon that if you are a leopard or a lion or something walking past here, that's almost invisible to the eye. And it's also why apparently they don't have a strong scent, and why within the territory like this they bury their dung. And what we'd seen was that the little Steenbok had gone to the loo, as it were, made its dung pile, and then scraped up some sand to cover it. So this whole little inside of the territory is completely odorless to a predator that might come through, and I think it's quite a clever strategy. Just on that colour blindness, for example, that big tree there is Scotia brachypatella, or the weeping boerbean. Weeping boerbean produces very bright red flowers, as many of you will know, and Brent was saying that his dad cannot see the flowers on a tree like that. His eyes are otherwise perfect, but he cannot see the red colour on a tree like that. And to you and I, or to most people who aren't colourblind, it would look like a Christmas tree that had been lit up when it has those red flowers. So isn't that very interesting? And I think that's probably why you find, of course, so many of the antelope are that rich red-brown colour, especially when they live in openish areas like this. And that is all I have to say about the Steenbok. Oh, yes, let us not forget, David, the whole reason I climbed up that ridiculous tree. Here we are. There is the lighted matches at close proximity. There we go. Very beautiful. And those are the anthers sticking out, these things here. And that's where the pollen would have been. And hopefully this one's fertilized, and it'll produce a little fruit sometime soon. Isn't that cool? There it is there. Then there was, here it is. There's a little caterpillar. A little green caterpillar. Now, it wasn't on this leaf when I picked it. I found it on the door of the vehicle, so I thought I would just sort of put one with the other and hope that they didn't mind living together, which they don't seem to be at the moment. But what's interesting, if I turn the caterpillar like that, and I mean, I've said this to you a few times, but I just find it fascinating. What you can see there in that sort of light is that the caterpillar has got 6 legs on the front, and then it's got suckers on the back. And often I don't think we remember that a caterpillar is, of course, an insect. It's going to be a butterfly, and therefore it can only have 6 legs. And the things at the back there that allow it to move in that inchworm sort of fashion are suckers. They're not legs. They're just able to sort of grip. Isn't that cool? Right, there we go. I'm going to release both back to the wilderness now. Be free. There we are. On we go. No sign of any leopards, I'm afraid. And so now we've come towards Twin Dams area to see if we can't pick up on some elephants that were seen earlier today. I'm just going to have a quick look at the actual water and then turn around and go up towards the Djuma waterhole. I think these are probably the same elephants that Herbert and I and Brian were tracking this morning on our bushwalk. Not sure why we say bushwalk every time we mention the walk. It's hardly like it could be a city walk, is it? I don't see any tracks down here, but there is water a little way down here. They may have popped down here for something to drink or some mud to spray. No, I don't see any large grey creatures knocking about here. I see another impala. We might have a little look at the Hadeda nest while we're here. It's a good excuse to come down to Twin Dams. There is the Impala. On his own. He's obviously not very nice, but like me. Hello, kitty, kitty, bang, bang. I do love saying that. Kitty, kitty, bang, bang. Oh, the Hadedahs are out. Can you see them? There was that stick in the way. Forward. There they are. All three of them are out. Kitty, kitty, bang, bang. You want to know if we ever see birds flying here in formation, like Canada geese fly in formation. We do. Interestingly enough, one of the close relatives of the Hadedah, the sacred ibis, does it quite a lot. Hadedahs fly in formation. They fly in a V quite often if there is a group of more than 2 or 3. White-faced ducks do it definitely. Yellow-billed ducks do it definitely. What else would do it? I suppose I've seen pelicans doing it. We don't get pelicans in this particular area, however. Yeah, so quite a few birds actually will fly in that very distinctive V formation. Am I correct in saying it's Canada geese rather than Canadian geese? I think I am. Much as it's not woodland kingfisher, but woodland kingfisher. Not so, David. Exactly. Now, I'm so glad all three are around, because often there's only one in view, the other's hiding under mum. How old are they now? Probably about 2 weeks, 14 days. They've got about 40 days to live in the nest before they fledge. And already the beaks are getting bigger, obviously. They're looking around much more studiously at the world around them. They're not just sort of gormlessly... Oh, look, look, look. Davy, the hornbill's come back to her nest. Can you see it there? Or was the trunk in the way? Ah, she's gone. Sorry about that. There she goes. Hopefully to fetch some more food for little ones. I can hear them calling. Anyway, they're in a hole there. They are exactly in there, yes, David. Forest wanderer, you're wondering what hornbills eat. They eat anything, basically, that's smaller than them. The yellow-billed hornbill will eat things up to the size of a chameleon. I think largely this time of the year they're eating caterpillars. I've seen them bring hundreds of caterpillars back to that hole. So I think probably caterpillars most of the time, much like that Hadedah is doing over there. Alrighty, we're going to reverse. Well, we'll just pop our heads over the top here and then we'll turn around and go back up Twin Dams Road. I just thought I may have seen some grouse landing there, but no, I don't think I did. Right, nothing going on here. No spotted cat in the offing. So we'll reverse and head back. Maybe we'll find some elephant. Right, here we go. Everybody trying desperately to get to see that one male lion. It's the only thing that's been seen all afternoon in terms of the big game. So all the landowners on their Christmas holidays are giving old Mfumo quite a busy time of it. I suppose he does his upkeep, really. I mean, you don't get to live in paradise for free. Right, Evia is somewhere knocking about. He wants to give you an update on what his plans are for the remainder of the day.
Se ver? Hello folks, my earpiece pulled out. We're on the prowl, we're busy, we're looking for animals. Haven't found much, just a tree that pushed over by elephants onto the road. Nice little roadblock by the garden services. Yeah, otherwise it's been fairly quiet. Dina, you are asking if I've ever seen pangolin on drive. I have been fortunate enough to see. I've seen a couple. I haven't seen in a long time though. I haven't seen one in maybe 3 years. Yeah, almost 3 years. Nice little leopard tortoise up ahead. Quite a big one. Let's go forward a bit more. Yeah, pangolins. Oh, what an experience to see them. But yeah, unfortunately there's a lot of sad things happening with poaching of pangolins. I read something this afternoon, they say one gets killed every 8 minutes, which is horrendous for such a beautiful creature. Little guy's a bit shyer, hiding itself. It's amazing how they blend into the environment. So where does the leopard tortoise get its name from? Apparently, it's part of the little five or the small five, and that's all the small creatures that have the big five's animal names in them. In a normal situation I would pick this guy up. Although it's rained a little bit, it has been a very dry year, so I don't want to pick it up and run the risk of him having basically pushing some fluids out. It's his spare fluids that if he is in desperate need of water that he could help himself with. So yeah, we're gonna leave him, let him be. But yeah, nice sighting. Something quite interesting with leopard tortoises, they're known to eat hyena dung. It sounds a bit rough, doesn't it? But it actually works quite well. Hyenas eat a lot of bone, and in the bone there's a lot of calcium. So any calcium deficiencies and stuff that, or a need for calcium that the tortoises might have, they would get from that. Yeah, animals will eat a whole bunch of different things to get extra minerals and nutrients that they need. Some will eat dung. Sometimes young of animals would eat dung as well. Probably the mother's dung. Reason being is to get the enzymes and the bacteria and stuff needed for digestion to take place. For minerals, a lot of them would eat soil, like kudu would eat soil. We're going to head over to Tayla have fun.
We are looking at some of the hardest working insects in the world. And of course, these are the harvester termites. And probably my favorite species of termite. They don't make the massive mounds like the large fungus-growing termites do. But you can see they are very, very busy collecting grass. And it is so easy to identify the harvester termite mound is because, well, hopefully in a few moments, once the workers have all gone out to collect bits of grass, you'll see that they deposit all these strands of grass just on the outside of their burrow. And they drop it off, and then they go back out and collect some more. And then while they're out collecting bits of grass, you've got others who have got a different role, who take the pieces of grass, as you can see, one dropping it down, passing it on to another termite, who will then take it and, well, store it and whatever else they're going to do with it. And I just think that they're amazing creatures. Now remember, I've told you quite a few stories about the Matabele ants, my favorite species of ant. And, well, unfortunately, I've never seen them down here, but I used to see them a lot in Zambia, and I've told you so many stories about them. And this is exactly the favorite food of the Matabele ants. And, like I say, they would send a scout out as the big army of Matabele ants were moving off in search of something to eat. And as soon as the scout had found an active harvester termite mound like the one that we're looking at, it would race back, and I'm pretty sure it did something along the lines of to signal to the others that, of course, he's been successful and found an active mound. Of course, they don't trumpet because I don't think they know how to play the trumpet, but they go back, leave a pheromone trail, inform the rest of the troop, and, well, then the army march starts, and they pick up the pace and head straight towards the harvester termite mound, where it then becomes an unfortunate massacre for these harvester termites. Those Matabele ants are relentless, and they will leave no survivors of this mound, unless there are one or two that are lucky to very quickly be able to get away. Otherwise, if they're in a close radius to the entrance to their mound, well, unfortunately, they will be chopped up and carried away back to the housing of the Matabele ants. Look at them go. But luckily for you, there are none here, so you are safe and sound. You just have to watch out, of course, for all of the different birds. Now, Evia was just telling you about tortoises and, of course, the hyena dung. Now, I don't know if you remember, I think it was a couple of afternoons ago, we had a leopard tortoise on Arathusa that had a white mustache. And, of course, that was because he was eating hyena dung. Now, we've actually got some right here at this mound. Should we take another look? Which piece would you like to have a look at? Brian, you tell me. This one over here? Right, let's get my stick. Now, I just don't want to stand on any of these termites. No, you can't take that big stick. Look at this one. This one wants to take that big stick away. Unfortunately, I'd like to use this when you're done. Very inconsiderate. Get off. Go and collect grass. You can't take this back with you. Don't be ridiculous. Thank you. Get my stick back. Right, let's try not squash them. Now, here we have some very old hyena dung. Oh! It is so old, it broke my stick. Right, out comes the multi-tool. That's not it. We'll have to poke and prod with this, and I think that my multi-tool should be able to do the trick. Now, it's been decaying in the sun, baking in the sun for quite some time. You can see, you can even hear, it's solid. I don't think I'd be able to break that up with my fingers. Not that you want to touch carnivore feces, but you can see how this would be such a tasty treat for something like a tortoise to be able to get all the calcium carbonate that's left over once the hyenas have digested what they need. Look at that, isn't that amazing? And it's interesting, I wonder what else utilizes something like this that needs calcium. Well, of course, giraffe, but I don't think that they would really pick up the hyena dung. They are, well, used to picking up bones and chewing on the bones. Well, enough about this hyena dung. Let's shoot back across to Evia, who's got a beautiful Bateleur up in a tree.
Look at that beautiful bird sitting there. A Bateleur. You can see there's a bit of wind around. Look at the head feathers and the feathers at the bottom on the legs fluttering about. This looks like it's a male that's perched here. If you look at the bottom of the wing, the lighter color, grayish color at the top, and then the bottom is completely dark. Females have a lighter bottom as well. This guy is probably on the scan looking for small mammals or reptiles. It's about to move around, maybe to catch some food. A bit earlier, just before you guys came over to me, he was sitting with his wings splayed out, sunning himself. I wouldn't say he was drying himself, but definitely just heating himself up a bit. Just look at those talons. Imagine being grabbed by that. See, I went to the toilet there, nice. So Bateleurs are also known to scavenge around. If there's a kill, often you can guess there is a kill, or lions or leopard on a kill, if you see Bateleur flying around or perched in trees close by, often following vultures around or in the company of vultures as well. Doing a bit of grooming, cleaning himself there. Something I find quite entertaining with Bateleurs is that when they fly, they always look like they're doing a balancing act with that very short tail of theirs. You can see even now with him perched like that, his wings are extending the tail by quite a bit. You can't see the tail actually. Tail with birds helps a lot with balance and movement in the air. Valeria, you're saying that this is your favorite raptor. They are quite spectacular. I mean, just by their colors and the way that they move, everything, they're quite good looking birds, and definitely a favorite of mine as well. Don't know if you saw, but when he turned his head and he went into his wing, there was a bit of a white membrane that came over his eye as he went under the wing. It's called the nictitating membrane. And that protects the eye from dust, kind of keeps cleaning the eye as whenever it's needed. This guy is on a serious mission to clean himself though. There you can see it again. Maybe we can zoom in on the eye there. I love the way the wind's pushing up those head feathers. It looks amazing. Almost looks like that old school bibs that the people used to wear with those little folds in them.